13 Love, I am Shanor. I cover my head and dress modestly for spiritual reasons. I am also the owner of Ancestral Sister 913, where I do sell white head covers and shawls to help the righteous set themselves apart. And today I'm going to talk about head covering in ancient Greece, right? And so I think just by saying that, we already know it can get a little bit interesting, so let's rap about it. So I had this picture in my phone that I absolutely adored. It was a beautiful young lady, and I think the caption on the picture said a Greek woman wearing Haitian. And so I'm like, okay, Haitian, let me look into this Haitian, because that's a pretty odd name for a head covering, right? Well, it's not Haitian, it's Hamation. And so I'm like, okay, that sounds a little bit more fitting, right, to be an ancient garment. And so just originally looking into the Hamation, right away, it just kind of blew the lid, before we even get to head covering, it just blew the lid off of that very iconic or infamous look that we've all seen the Greek or the ancient Greek philosophers and these ancient Greek statues of men and sometimes women, when they got the whole drapery look type thing going on. That's the Hamation, amen. And so it just kind of just blew the lid off of that iconic Greek philosopher look for me. And I was like, okay, very interesting, right? But then it also gave me some insight into your so-called Jesus character and just other biblical figures as well, who are also typically seen wearing a very modest outfit with the little drapery going on, which I personally love and find to be beautiful, right? But it kind of made that stand out to me too. Like, okay, when you see those biblical pictures and the way the whole drapery is going, that's the Hamation, right? And of course, if you have this look, you do have this look in different regions, you may call it something different. I know for sure, I believe it's in Sudan, it's called a tobe. I feel like the sari in India, it got the same little drapery vibe. I think only typically women wear them there, but it's a little sari vibe. You feel what I'm saying? So you can kind of find this cultural look in different regions. But for me, the Hamation specifically is going back to ancient Greece, which I found to be interesting. So looked into the Hamation, and I guess I'll tell you a little bit about it, right? So typically it is a very versatile garment worn by both men and women during that time. Just a big rectangular piece of cloth, right? And so worn by both men and women, but it was typically worn on top of an undergarment, which is simply put, it's a tunic. But I believe they called it something like, and don't quote me on this, but it's like a chiton, keton. It has like different pronunciations, chiton, keton, that kind of thing. But it's an under tunic, it's an undergarment. So it would be worn on top of the undergarment. And the basic style, you would drape it across the left arm, throw it across the back, okay, bring it up under that right arm, and then throw it back across that left shoulder. And that was your very basic Hamation look that you've seen, whether you know it or not. You've seen this look hundreds of times on these Greek philosophers, statues and pictures and whatnot, right? So that was your basic style. And so as time went on, as time does, you would find more of your philosopher and your orator and your philosopher, I said that already. You would find these type of people who eventually remove the under tunic. And I think this is where things kind of get interesting, to say the least, because like, let's keep it real. We're talking about ancient Greece here, right? So follow me. It said that eventually these scholarly people, they removed the under tunic and they just wore the Hamation on its own. And we've seen dozens of pictures and sculptures of the very chiseled ancient Greek men, right, with chest and the pecs showing, and they just got the little Hamation draped around the body. We've seen this before, right? And it eventually got to that point. It said that these people removed the under tunic basically as a way to position or signify a more austere lifestyle, a more aesthetic being, meaning that they are rejecting the fashion of it all. They are rejecting the comfortability. They're rejecting ordination, and they're rejecting, the worldly things. And they're just here for a specific, philosophical, progression or, route on life. And I don't need my undertunic. I just need my hamation type thing, right? Sure. Cool. That's what it's said to have meant. But now when things would start to get interesting, as I think they always will when you're talking about a place such as ancient Greek, if I'm putting my own thought into this, and so let's just kind of go there here, right? Like ancient Greece has a very illustrious reputation for abominable behavior. You know what I'm saying? Same-sex relationships, specifically with men. And so I like to think, whether they know it or not, this whole removal of the undertunic and I'm just going to wear my hamation, I'd like to believe that was directly correlated to the festivities that they had going on. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm pretty sure, if my memory and my research serves me correctly, this is a prominent place where you would see that abominable behavior is with these scholarly men who maybe had like a younger fella as an understudy, and the relationship would be more. Okay? And obviously I am not in favor of the lifestyle. Okay? I rebuke the adversary. I'm just giving you the story here, right? But I think the whole removal of the undertunic was correlated to that. I ain't got no proof because I ain't even go down that road, but I'm just giving you the story here. But I think it was correlated to that, right? So you have the men doing that with their hamation, okay? And then you have the women who also wore the hamation on top of their undertunic. Eventually you had like a base undertunic, and then it grew into more of a outerwear type basic tunic. And the women would eventually wear the hamation on top of the outerwear tunic or their undergarment tunic, okay? But of course, to cover their head for modesty, not religion necessarily, but to cover their head for modesty, they would just create a very cool look, in my words, and they would pull the hamation over the head, okay? And this is another point where things start to get interesting, okay? So again, ancient Greece, the women covered the head, not so much for religion, but for modesty. And I mean, basically, I'm going to call it spirituality, okay? So the ancient Greeks had a very strong belief that a woman's hair was tied to her feminine anatomy, to her uterus, to her genitalia, okay? And they believed that a woman, and they're not really the only culture who believe this, but I digress. But they believe that the woman with untamed, unkept hair that wasn't covered up, or they believe the hair in general, right? But especially a woman with the hair out loose, whatever. This woman has the power to draw in or pull semen from men. So hair in ancient Greece was an expression of sexual identity. It was an expression of sexual power or status and things of the sort. But again, for a woman to wear her hair unkept, unbound, uncovered, loose and free, it was almost kind of seen as a little witchy poo, a little witchcrafty, because it's like Shawty is trying to get us out here. Like she's just out here with her sexual energy. flowing and waving and drawing semen from the men, right? And I think that's a very peculiar thing to think. Number one, I'll say this, like kind of going back, right? Because I did refer to them kind of seeing it as a little, okay, Spider, I ain't mad, do your thing. Sorry. Going back to them kind of seeing it as witchcrafty, they are not the first culture who believe that, you know, a woman with wild, untamed hair is like, okay, shawty must be a witch. Because all cultures knew the power and the mystery and the possibility when it comes to a woman's hair. And in different cultures, if you was just out in the street running around with your hair out loose, boop, boop, they like, okay, shawty must be trying to put a root on somebody out here because she doesn't have her energy and her sexual essence covered up type thing. So it ain't the first culture that, you know, would call a woman a witch for being untamed by the hair. So that's one thing. But so this belief that, you know, it would draw the semen out of men and things of that sort, right? You would be covered up. So as a married woman, an elite woman, a respectable woman in ancient Greece, you would have on your hamation, number one, to just kind of cover the body. But you would also wear, and I can barely say this word, okay, hold on, let me try and get it. Tigidon. And we do know that the N and the M, they're interchangeable. So it's like tigidon or also sometimes tigidom. So you would see the married women, the respectable women, wearing a combination of both. And so you may be thinking, Shanor, what's a tigidon or tigidom? Well, that is the face veil. Okay? It's a face veil. So some women will wear the tigidon and the hamation that's still pulled over the back of the head. And it basically would revert to looking like a present day niqab. Is that how you say it? Is it niqab? I think it's niqab, right? That the Muslim women wear. So essentially it's like body, head, face is covered, nothing but the eyes showing, right? So this is what you would find your elite, married, modest women doing in ancient Greece. And I think it's not a coincidence, but I think it's just, I mean, not amazing, but of course, also in this ancient culture, the woman who was unbound, untamed, wild hair, all the things, you were seen as you were a sex worker to them. And it is kind of peculiar that, you know, if the history of Greek is so promiscuous as it is, you know, even they found the woman to be promiscuous if she didn't have her head covered like they did in ancient Assyria and these other places, right? So I think that's peculiar, but I want to go back to the whole hair untamed and the man and, you know, pulling the semen. I want to go back there because when I first heard this, I found it, I was like, now boy, they wild for that, you know? Hold on, y'all, excuse me. Okay, went away. Yeah, I was like, okay, boy, they wild for that. Like, that's so outlandish. How would they put the two together? But I kind of can make a little sense of it, okay? And and this is just me, right, in my own thinking, the way I can kind of see where they was getting with that, right? So just follow me here, okay? So to them, untamed hair, uncovered, wow, it's sexual energy. It's connected to their uterus and their genitalia and things of the sort, right? And so think about it today. A woman with the head uncovered, let's say her hair is very long, she got curls, it's voluminous. In present day, in present times, this is attractive to a man. Men are visual creatures, right? So if you got a woman out, head uncovered, voluminous curls and all the things, it can attract the attention of a man, okay? If that man is like sexually attracted to you, right? Sexual attraction can most times lead to lustful thoughts, okay? Lustful thoughts would be that of sexual thoughts. You know what I'm saying? And the objective, I'm going to say, or let's say the journey of your lustful thoughts, or even just the journey of sex, would lead you to a climatic situation, will lead you to your release of semen, right? Well, where does semen come from? The brain. Okay. And so when it said that this untamed woman with her hair out flowing and free, so to speak, she is seen to basically be kind of doing a little witchcrafty. She's drawing and pulling out and up the semen of men. You see it? It's like hair, man, lust, sexual thoughts. That lustful sexual journey may lead to a specific type of release because it's not physical sex. That, you know, that journey may lead to, you know what I'm saying, pulling or drawing up the semen from the brain. It's just me, like, I maybe you don't get it, no, but I mean, I could just kind of see a little bit where they was going. That's all. But yeah. So to prevent from being looked at as a sex worker, or from being looked at as maybe a little witchcrafty poo, you would wear your hamation pulled over your head for modesty and containing of that spiritual and sexual energy and identity. And if you were a real elite woman in ancient Greece, or a married modest woman, you would have your hamation and your tigidon across your face as well. And yeah, you would be covered. But I think also what they described from my research, they also felt like, you know, that untamed or uncovered woman, and I thought this was good. They found that untamed woman to be more of a, it said that she was a danger to the social structure. And I think that's deep. Because that untamed woman right now today, in my opinion, is a potential danger to social structure. And just in my own words, what I think that meant for them in ancient Greece is that, okay, if you do have some good men who are married to some good women in these loving, beautiful marriages, right? Let's say you got that going on all around town. Okay, cool. But let's say maybe you have this whole big group of the untamed, wild, free-flowing, long-hair women who were drawing up and out the semen of these other men. You see, like if you are distracting these married men and catching their attention by way of lust, then eventually, you know, because men, it's a little tough for them. So if you got all these women running around and they're drawing this attention and these lusts from these men, then eventually what you're gonna have is a whole bunch of married women sitting at home without their husbands, kind of thing. And then you have these elites and these modest women who should be on top of society. They at home looking for their husbands. You know what I'm saying? They at home and don't know where Aphidophilus is, so he could, you know, have dinner with her and the children. You see what I'm saying? And so that is that disrupts the social structure. And I can see that. I believe that. And I think that's very relevant to today's time. And it made me think about that song by Jasmine Sullivan. Now, this ain't no song that I listen to or that I enjoy, but I've heard the song before. I don't know the name of it, and I think it's pretty old at this point, and this may be the title, but basically the song is like, these hoes be winning type thing. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and I remember on the internet around this time, it was kind of going around like all the promiscuous girls, all the Jezebels got boyfriends, all the Jezebels have men kind of thing. They got men, while the good women are still looking for men kind of thing. And I just think that that's where the ancient Greeks were going with that, like, all these untamed women with their sexual energy flowing, like, you guys are dangerous to the social structure And I don't think it's much that I would agree with ancient Greek culture, but I feel that part right there. I think I see where they was going with that, and I think that's very relevant today. And that's all I came to say today, folks. So even with all the shenanigans that will be going on in the ancient Greek society, we've all heard the stories and read the articles. Even to them, women, you should have your head covered up. Amen. And if you don't, even to them, you were seen as a little prostitution. So don't be a prostitute, girl. Put your head cover on. Okay? But that's all today, folks. Thank you for being here. If you liked it, if you learned something, drop a sister a little comment. A comment, that little emoji with the turban. Okay? And 13 love. Thanks for being here. Okay, bye.